SwayamPrabha. Digital India. Educated India.
Hello. So far, we have covered three aspects of our lecture. One is the general overview. Then we have talked about the definition of landscape architecture, landscape design, definition of design. And then in the last lecture, we have discussed about different categories of landscapes and also about the nature of landscapes or landscape materials. Now, a very important domain that I am entering into, which is what is the purpose of this landscape design? See, the point is that we have to be always a professional in our activity, in our objective. Professional, by saying professional, I do not mean that you have to earn money. It is a serious business. If you are taking landscape as your profession, you are serious about it and you are going to deliver the right thing in the right form. And if you are a professional landscape designer, then of course, you will be expecting a return as a remuneration or so called fees. That is a different issue. But to be a professional landscape designer, we have to understand what is the purpose of design. So, in this purpose of design, the first is creating nature. Often I have used the objective of landscape design as a synonymous word of purpose. What is the objective? What do you want to do in the landscape design? After I discuss about this purpose or objective, then I will discuss about your professional scope in this or scope of works. Okay. So, create nature. Purpose of landscape design is creating nature. If there is something which is non-natural, create nature out of it. Then protect nature. This is a very serious issue. If you recall, I have said once, if you have the first category of landscape and you have nothing to do, means do nothing is a reproach, then you should also look into it how you can protect it, because nature is a very dangerous element. It is going to erode, is going to blow away several natural elements. If you think of the sand dunes, you will always find the dunes are being formed and you get enjoyment out of it, but you know that the dunes are also being destroyed and recreated. That means, if you think there is something which you have to protect, so if you are trying to protect the nature, that is another objective. Another is restore nature, means, see, with the urbanization, I would first let me concede that I am not against urbanization, rather I am very much in favor of urbanization, because that shows our evolution. Through urbanization, what we are finding is what I saw as nature during my childhood days, now it is urban, total urban, good or bad, I am not questioning, it is total urban. So, that means the nature got changed. People will say destroyed. I won't say destroyed, it is changed, because change for the better. We require place to stay, we require a property, we require a place to make our house. So, open space is available, that is natural, we converted this to a habitable space, that is it. So, it is not the question of it is right or wrong, it is changed. All right. In case you find that somewhere the nature got destroyed or disturbed and it did not really deserve that, in such case I will say restore. Restore this nature as best as you can. This restoration can be scaled from your own house properties to large areas, even to the region. An example, a mining area where open cast mining is scooping out the entire top surface of it, if you can restore it. There are maybe ways, not fully restorable, but attempt should be restore. Then blend. What you are blending? You are blending the build forms with the nature, because build form, as I said, build form is the necessity. We are creating this for our necessity, for our day to day living. We cannot stay in the open field, we cannot stay in sun and rain, we need shelter. The moment you make shelter, it will certainly occupy a piece of natural land, and once it is on the natural land, then the shelter becomes different item, non-natural. But we should not say that no, it is not required. The build form, then how can you blend the build forms with the nature? Then enhance. Enhance what? The aesthetics of the nature. How do you enhance it? Suppose you have found that the nature is, it's creating something which is very, very undesirable. An example, you have a front garden and you have planted your season flowers this season, and you did not have much opportunity to maintain it for the next season. What will be the outcome of it? If you do not create it, if you do not enhance the quality of this, then it will become a jungle. Okay. This is where I have another point to make. Who creates what? See, philosophically, if I say first category is created by Almighty, let us call it nature. First category created by nature, second category is created by whom? Human being, for their purpose. Third category is created by whom? The designer, with a very willful thinking and idea of or knowledge, he creates. So, all three are created by someone or the other, and in case you do not take care of that particular creation, then what happens? After that, suppose you do not pay any attention to it, you created a wonderful park, wonderful landscape, leave it, do not do anything, do not do anything for 3 years. What will happen to those? Nature again will take over, they will start creating it. What they will create? They will create a jungle out of it, they will create a bush out of it. The season flower that you have planted, that will die after the season is over. Now, it will become a very difficult to bear eyesores. Suppose you have planted, but you did not maintain it by pruning, trimming or whatever. Now, it goes as the nature is forcing. So, what happens is, first category is created by nature, second category is created by somebody who is not bothered about the creation, third category is created by somebody who is deliberately bothered about the creation and he creates, and the fourth one, if nobody takes care, then nature again will take over. And after 10, 20, 50 years, you will find it looks like what we call as ruins in English, what we call as Kandahar in Hindi. So, it is the kind of thing that will get created. So, the point is that your role always, or your purpose is always to see that how it is being enhanced. So, this is that point I am making, that enhancing the aesthetics of the nature. If a tree is good, but trimming, pruning, shaping, that makes it better aesthetically. Next, remediate. Remediate what? The degraded environment. Environment is always under threat, whether you agree or not. By virtue of our total developments, we are taking our actions for development, and that has valid reasons to do it, but there are also threats. The environments are getting degraded, environments are getting polluted, environment is getting defaced. Remediate, and this remediation is done by landscaping. So, under your purpose of this, remediation is also there. Improve the air quality, improve the temperature condition. If certain areas are highly susceptible or exposed to the solar radiation, plant trees, reduce the air temperature, increase the humidity, reduce the air temperature, make it livable. That means there is always a improvement that you can force. These are the points which you should never forget, that if you understand all the purposes, then you know what is your task. Next, control. Control what? Soil erosion. There are certain areas which, suppose whatever slope it is and the water is flowing over that and gradually eroding the first layer of the grass. Once the first layer of the grass goes off, till it is gone off, you don't realize it, neither you care. But see that after a few years the grass is gone. Now the same, because of the slope and the water sheet that is flowing over it, the particles will now get loosened and they will flow off. There will be a gradual erosions, soil erosion. Landscape is the only solution. By landscaping you can control it. How? We will discuss. Maintain the ecological balance, because whatever development that you are doing in the name of urbanization or in the process of urbanization, we are certainly disturbing the ecological system. What is the kind of disturbance that we are doing? An example, suppose you are living in an area where there are plenty of trees. Let us say the entire land area is 80% trees and your 20% was habitation. Over the years you will find that 80% is now depleting gradually and now depleted to 70%, 60%. So now it has become 40% of habitation. Those depletion of that percentage, what used to happen is they were the haven or they were the shelters for animals and bird species. Gradually what happens is more you are urbanizing it, more they are under threat, and they find that the atmosphere non-conducive because of many things, whether it's light pollution, whether it's a noise pollution, whether it's a dust pollution, whatever. They are gradually rejecting this area, they will migrate to some other places or they will die even. So what happens is that ecological balance which were there originally now is under threat. So it is the users, if you look into it, we are the users, we make it for better use, but they are also users and they had been perennially staying over there, growing ages for ages. Now this is what is also important, that you have to maintain ecological balance and create suitable environment for desirable birds, insects, animal species. This is what I am hinting at. The thing is, when you look into the entire thing, I will just go back and see, summarizing it. What is your purpose of landscape design? Rather, what is your objective of landscape design? Creating nature, protect the nature, restore the nature. Not that everything you have to do together. These are all different steps, different actions that we have to do. Create the nature, protect the nature, restore the nature, blend the built forms with the nature. And in fact, Japanese have done it very successfully. They have really blended in such a manner you really lose the idea of whether you are stepping from the built form to the landscape or landscape to the built form. They have done it excellently. The thing is, even the modern landscapes are also having some examples which are doing the similar things. The point is this blending. So blend built forms with the nature and enhance the aesthetic of nature. And then you remediate the degraded environment, you improve the air quality and temperature, control the soil erosion, and maintain ecological balance and create suitable environment for the animal species. If you can do this, you are doing your justice by landscape design. Then what comes under the scope of our work? This is very critical, because whenever I had been discussing with my students, we learn anything that gives us some benefit. The benefit is professional opportunity. I will tell you very frankly, landscape has tremendous professional opportunity, only less explored and less regarded. Landscape has always remained as a second category of professional domain, where an architect leads, landscapist or landscape designer supports. The point is, if a landscape designer is better equipped than a so-called architect, then there should be no such problem. So the profession has a lot of scope. Let me just give you some idea about what kind of scope that you have under your landscape design profession. The scope of work, basically. First is, what you do is, imagine that you've got a landscape project. Try in this line. You think that you got a landscape project. Somebody has commissioned you for this. He has commissioned you. He will give a parcel of land to you and he will tell you that he wants a landscaping to be done. And in exchange, he will be ready to share some revenues with you as your fees. Let's take it that way, very straightforward professional way. What you first do is understand the dream and aspiration and the budget of the owner. What he is really planning. Why did he build that? Why did he buy that parcel of land? And why he is trying to make landscape out of it? Is it because he has extra land? No. He has some dream. He has some aspiration. Aspirations and dreams probably will commensurate with what is the purpose in the landscape, what we stated in the landscape purposes. So, dreams and aspiration you must very clearly know from him, for which what we do is you have a very one-to-one interview. Do not make it very formal, informally, may not be in one day. Gradually you try to understand what he is expecting out of that particular project, for which he is ready to spend, because it is very difficult to find out owners or the clients who is ready to pay for something which is not revenue generating. And in fact, the landscape project to an owner is really not revenue generating unless he makes make some charges or ask for some charges for this. Okay, so he definitely has some other objective. It's not money. And what's his budget? The point is, what happens is, I have seen quite often the professional jumps onto the project and thinking that okay, I should do so many things. How could you do it? The owner has been ready to see his dream in reality, but he also has a limited pocket. So, understand his budget and always try to be very economic, because you are rather, it is possible in landscape because you are rather handling all natural materials which are less expensive than converted material. Getting stone from the quarry, getting brick, getting tree saplings to make a big tree in future, making grass lawns, these are not very expensive. So, the point is, you should always try in such a manner that owner also has a reason to spend money for that. So, the budget of the owner you try to understand and also give him some idea about the approximate budget, then you will find your project is going to get through. Okay, this is agreed with the client that you have understood. Let's presume that you have understood his dream, aspiration, what he wants and how much he is ready to spend for this. You must be seeing that for architectural projects also we do the same thing. We try to ask that how much floor area that you require, what kind of material do you want, and what is your total budget within which I can think about the material selections. Same here. Then identify the categories of users. Here, this identification of categories of users is basically you are trying to understand the users. An example let me give you. Suppose the local municipality wants to develop a park. It is a fairly good and commonly perceived landscape project. They have a piece of land which is a vested one, which is a government land. So, they have nothing much to pay for it, but they have a limited budget, but they have a very strong initiative of offering to the society a nice park where people can go in the evening or in the daytime, enjoy the landscape. That means, its dream is quite justified and the budget is limited. Who are the users? You may not be surprised that the municipal authority people may not even visit that afterwards. But who are the users? For whom it is being planned? It is the local people. The local people that you see, along with that you will find that, as I said earlier, along with that, once you make the park, then there will be birds coming, there will be insects coming, there will be butterflies coming. That means, you try to understand what is good for everybody, but you do not have to think about hazardous or dangerous animals. I do not say that, but think about those things which are almost a integral part of a good landscape spots. So, you study the categories of user. This identifying the category of a user and doing a study on them, on psychological aspects, when I will discuss, you will find that there are so many things to learn in this. I do not want to load here. Conduct a background research on users' expectation and manifestation. I will elaborate this later, but here let me give out just a clue. What is the expectation and manifestation? You must have watched that if there is an open space and there is a spot from where one can go from one point to another, there is a common tendency that somebody will always make a shortcut. They will not care that what happens to the ground, and over the years you will find that the ground grass lawns got eroded and that became a pathway. Basically what happens is everybody wants to minimize its energy expenses. So, his expectation is to go by shortcut. And what is the manifestation? They will go by shortcut. So, this is how. So, when you are conducting the users study, try to know from various sources, either you observe. I can always suggest a book which could be very useful for all of you. is a Christopher Alexander's pattern language. It's a very easy reading book, nothing written very technically, and he really is, I consider him as a pioneer in this kind of study. If you see that there are small items which requires a lot of attention, if you get a chance, read that pattern language written by Christopher Alexander. Then you will understand that how people manifest. Okay. Then, so far you have understood. Let me consider in the first three points, what you have understood is you have evaluated or analyzed the dream and aspirations and the budget of the owner, and you have identified the category of users, and now you have conducted the background research on those categories. That means now you know the owner and the user. Now it comes to technical work. What you have to do is you have to conduct a site survey, and this is very technical. Surveyors, civil engineers maybe, or maybe a surveying team who are experts, they will conduct this survey, then analyze it. See, my experience is, let the surveyor do the survey, but you as a landscape designer, you analyze. Why you analyze? Because you have understood the aspirations of the client better, you have understood the manifestations or expectations of the users better. Surveyor did not do that. Surveyor is only assigned to do a very clear-cut survey as you indicate. When I will discuss about the site survey analysis and appraisal at the end of this particular course, you will find there are so many things to survey, so many ways to analyze, and how you make an appraisal. Appraisal, once you do, if you do it very methodically, you will find that the appraisal will almost solve your 50% of the design issues or design problems clearly. Okay. So, you undertake site survey, analysis, appraisal. You guide the surveyor how to do the survey, what kind of data you require, give him a list of it. Then you study the cultural factors of the location. You know what I mean by cultural factors over here? This cultural factor is not our human culture that we are referring to. Cultural factor of that particular area relates to many things. It relates to geography, geographic location, the climate, and the inhabitants, their habits, their traditions. Very interestingly, here the social scientists, they can really, they can go deep into this study and they can educate you like anything. Anthropologists will find out exactly what is the kind of cultural system of a particular village that he is studying, which is in that locality. Change the locality, change the location, change the climate, things will change. Here the thing is, what you do is you try to find out the cultural factors of the location. As I am saying, the cultural factors of the location in terms of geography and climate for people, I would also say for plants. Can you imagine that the plant which grows very well in cold climate can be brought and put in the hot arid zone and grow? No, they will die. Can you imagine that somebody who has lived over generations and generations in one particular area and comes to another cold climate area? I should say that the person who lived in the hot arid zone over generations now brought to a cold climate area, he will survive well? No. This is what is the seriousness of cultural analysis. Okay? So, you study the cultural factors of the location, because ultimately your project is going to be located in a very specific site which has been given by the client. Assess the time of use. Any landscape project, whether it is your front garden, your rear garden, a park, sea coastal area, river fronts, you will find that 24-hour day cycle, it will be of different use. Not only different use, it will also look different, it will behave differently. Can a location behave differently? No. The location is not behaving differently. People who are using that particular area for a specific period of time is behaving differently in conjunction with the locations and the time. So, what you do is you make a time of use study. Whether it is day cycle, I do not expect that you will be saying that the landscape will be used in the midnight. I do not say that, but what is wrong? In case the landscape could be so good that people can go there at the middle of the night, what is wrong? So, the thing is, you consider the time of use, and most often what we do is we consider a park which will be used from the afternoon 4 o'clock to 6 o'clock, or early morning from 5 o'clock to 8 o'clock, because people go for jogging, people go for walk, but in the evening people go for they take the babies over there. So, this is the kind of situation. So, what you do is time of the day, because once you design a park, most often neglected period of the midday, how the park is going to manifest, I don't think people really take much, pay much attention to this, that what should be the use of that in the middle of the day. If you really see a city park, I can assure you, you will find many people are lying down below a tree resting, because they have no other place in urban area where they can rest, but city park is for them. So you see the time of use. You also see many other things along with this time of use, whether how much vulnerable it is, how safe it is, how secure it is. All these we will discuss when we discuss about the park planning in detail. Then prepare a conceptual plan. I presume that you have understood the dreams and aspiration of the client. You have analyzed the user's expectations, behaviors, tendencies, manifestations well. You have also identified the users very categorically, and you know the time of the day, and then you are trying to identify what you should do. So you prepare a concept plan. Once you prepare the concept plan is basically what you are going to offer, and this is not out of the hat. This is based on what you have studied, what you have understood, and this you have done a thorough analysis. So naturally, analysis has to result into a very fruitful thinking and also an outcome in terms of concept. So you prepare a concept plan. But if you stop there, I can assure you the park will never be built, the landscape will never be built. Now it comes into very I would say uninteresting part of the landscape profession, very uninteresting part. You have created a wonderful concept plan, colorful renditions shown to different people, people are appreciating it. You also see a wonderful creation in color. Think of it in the site. What you want that this particular concept should be coming into the site as in reality. The situation is, if you don't take care in all these details for the next steps which I am saying, you will find nothing will take place as you dream of. It will remain as a wishful thinking only in piece of paper or in report, a colorful report, but nothing will take shape, and it will never be a reality what you wanted to create. So under this BOQ, technical specification and tender documents, what is your role? What is your scope? As you are creating the bill of quantities to know how much quantity of work, what materials will be used. Basically, if you see in the whole process of your landscape implementation, every item that was mentioned as a material now will come under this, and the quality of the material that will come as a through technical specification. That means you have to say what kind of material, what should be its quality, and what should be its mix, and how it is to be used in the landscape. And what is there in the tender documents? In the tender documents, basically it will be prepared for floating a tender to invite the contractors or people who will execute it, whether it is a civil contractor, whether it is a horticultural contractor, whether it is some electrical contractor, because there will be so many other scopes which will come in. So in the tender document, what you will have is, tender document will be basically a combination of, or rather an assimilation of, BOQ, technical specification. Technical specification which will give the idea of what kind of quality you have to attain or rather comply, the drawing which will have a good amount of information so that one can ascertain that what is the level of work. In the tender drawing, you do not have to give the entire details. Entire details will come later. In the tender drawings, there should be the basic dimensions which can allow the tenderer to comprehend what is the level of work. Along with that, there will be a notice inviting tender, there will be general condition of contract, there will be special condition of contract. So what happens is, now we will see, this is very rudimentary, this is very boring in terms of landscape creation, I can tell you, very boring, but very essential. Most often I have found that people are very happy up to creating the concept design. I can assure you, you create a concept design and leave it in the hand of the others to build, I am sure that you are not getting what exactly you are dreaming. My suggestion is, friends, if you are taking this landscape design as a profession, in that case, go down to the last part of it. That is what I am elaborating now. Create a BOQ yourself. You do not have to do it yourself, you take help of the experts. Create a technical specification where you should be very attentive, do not leave it to the others. because technical specification is something which gives the real idea or character of what is going to be built over there, because in that the quality has to be mentioned and the compliance, or rather I would say the penalty for non-compliance also will be mentioned. Okay? So, the technical specification, you just do not try to leave it beyond your scope of work. So, you prepare the technical specification, at least you review it word by word and see what you are dreaming of is listed over there. You do not have to push in a lot of garbage in this, just do the right things what is required for this specification, but be very very careful about the condition of contracts, whether it is general condition of contract or special condition of contract, because you are appointing, or rather I would say on behalf of client you are appointing, or maybe client himself appointing a contractor. Contractor is a person who has nothing to do with what landscape you are creating. His only objective is that how much money he can make out of this by profit. He will always try to see that whether his profit can be higher. Let us be very clear about it, because this is profession. We are not doing any hide and seek game in this. The contractor will try to make more profits out of this work with less of works. So, there will be always opportunity that if suppose something you have listed very categorically in your scope of works or in the BOQ, but not properly binded with or bound with legal or other regulations, then contractor is likely to deviate from there, flout the conditions, and you cannot do anything. So, the point is, if suppose you have said the grass lawn has to be made, then naturally you also have to say what kind of grasses, what should be the quality of grass, what should be the health of the grass, how much time it should be watered, so that you get the right kind of grass that you have planned for. And you will find that somebody will just bring some grasses, some turf, and then leave it, and he will say that okay, I have done my job, please give me my payment. You will be bound to give him payment if your condition of contracts are not properly done. So, I would say that if really you are taking this as a serious profession, in such cases please do not try to avoid these lower segments of points which I am discussing now. BOQ, you should be a master of BOQ. Technical specification, you should be a master of technical specification. Tender documents, you should be a master of tender documents, so that you know exactly what is to get out of the contractors through your legal bindings. Is that okay? Next, prepare the construction drawing. When is it prepared? Let me tell you, once the concept has been approved by the clients or authorities, whoever approved by the clients, your construction drawing preparation has started. In fact, your BOQ, technical specification and tender documents goes almost parallelly, and what happens is many of the items of the construction drawings will be a part of the tender drawings which you are giving. Okay? So, the thing is, here you have to be very very categorical. But mind it, whatever is in your tender, if your construction drawing is erroneous or has flaws or has defects, then contractor will take you on a ride, and he can always get away with doing something which you did not expect, but by virtue of your mistakes in the construction drawing, you could not do anything legally. So, what you are dreaming of will not come true. So, the construction drawing, again another very cluttered drawing. Later on I will show you some of my own projects construction drawings. It will look like a very cluttered, clumsy drawings. And what happens is, as a landscape designer, we think that we are creating with colors. Which color? If it is color of flowers of a tree, if the tree is not properly planted in your landscape and which is not guided by your proper correct construction drawing, how can you ensure that this will be colorful? You cannot. So, the point is, everything that you do here, be very meticulous and correct. Construction drawing cannot afford to have any mistakes. If you do have, if you identify it on, say, you may not be able to create a construction drawing which is absolutely thorough in correctness by the time you have floated this drawing, but the moment you identify this, or brought to your notice by the contractor, or brought to your notice by anybody else, immediately revise it and release a drawing. So, your scope is also that. Okay? Then this is another part which everybody is reluctant to take it. I always say that if you really want to learn have your landscape as a profession, do not hesitate, do not be reluctant to this, because this is the thing where you can ensure that what you have designed is being properly constructed by the contractor and you are supervising it, and you are ensuring that the quality that you have stated in your technical specification is being done as you have dreamt of. If you leave the supervision to somebody else whom you are not connected with, neither you monitor your supervisor, then anything can go wrong. This is one very, very serious thing. So, don't you think that these parts are slightly becoming very, very, very uninteresting part of the work, but the very important part of the work. Next, undertake annual maintenance operation. These whenever my students ask me, sir, after we have learned this subject, what should we do? How should we take up the project? I said, you really want to earn money throughout perpetually from a landscape project which you have designed, which you have got constructed, then take the AMC part also. This annual maintenance operation is seeing the thing built. You remember I said at one point, first category created by nature, second category created by somebody else, third category created by you. After that you don't do anything, nobody takes care, nature will take care of it, and then you will find again that it has gone back to the first category. Okay? Annual maintenance operation is something which will let it retain its own character of the third category that you have created. So, you don't discard this, rather I would say don't be reluctant to this, but it is a laborious job. It is not a very easy job. It's people think that low quality people, low educated people should take this. No. In fact, you are so much qualified with the knowledge of landscape that you are the best person, I believe, should take annual maintenance operations. So, what you can do is you can go for AMC, annual maintenance contract. You can hire experts. You don't have to do it going to the site. Hire experts and do the AMC works, and this will fetch you remuneration perpetually, because the landscape has to live as you have created. See, once it is constructed, after that, after 1 year, things will start changing, and what you wanted you have created within that 1 year. But after that, what happens is the second year nobody takes care. Your design is now going to get spoiled. You take the AMC, charge for it, and do the needful. Second year onwards, again the second year what you dreamt of is there. Third year, renew the AMC. As it is done for any other services, you must have seen that this is very, very essential. So, take serious note of this. And then I would say this also most of the designers avoid, because nobody wants to see or know what went wrong. I would say please don't avoid, conduct a post occupancy evaluation, because it is true that when you are planning, when you are designing, what you are dreaming something, not every points were covered, not every points came into your mind, but once it is constructed, people are using it. Why don't you conduct a post occupancy evaluation and try to know from the users that are they happy with what you have offered? The interesting part is most often we think that people will say negative about it, but most often we get the result when people say, oh, this is good, this is nice. If suppose somewhere some of the observations or some of the feedbacks are negative, then you should take the blame yourself, and you should understand that you went wrong somewhere in your thinking and correct it. You may correct it here because you have the AMC in your hand, and you may correct it for the next project. So, this is the task which you must take. Now, if you see, I am just going back again to this professional scope. I am just reiterating it. You understand the dreams and aspiration of the owner, you identify the categories of the user, conduct the background research of users' expectation and manifestation. Done. Now, you start working on the field. You conduct a site survey, make a thorough analysis on various factors, and then create an appraisal report. Appraisal report is going to give you an idea that what all you have to do, what actions you have to take, and quite often you will find, and I will prove you, the 50% of your design decisions are arrived at during the appraisal only. When I will talk about the site survey analysis and appraisal, you will see that. Then you study the cultural factors of the location. Then you know that what kind of climate, what kind of geography, so what kind of plants will grow there, what people would prefer, you know about it, and what time of use you are contemplating. Then you again you go to the next points, like you prepare a concept plan. Up to this, I would say it is very soft work. Soft work, interesting work and people love it. And then, as I would repeatedly say that from this point onward, prepare BOQ, prepare construction working drawings, supervise implementation of the project, undertake annual maintenance operations and conduct post occupancy evaluation. Most of the landscape architects try to avoid it, and they will leave it in the hand of people who are not really competent of this profession. So, my suggestion, dear friends, is this: take the full scope into your domain, and if we consider the profession means it should be revenue generating, I will tell you your concept plan will not fetch you much of revenue. If suppose somebody is ready to pay for the entire scope of work, then your concept plan probably will fetch you about 25 to 30% of your expected fees, expected total fees. The BOQ tender specification, tender documents and the construction drawing when you make, it takes care of another about say another 50% or 60%. You are still left with some 10%. Implement the project, do supervision. I can also assure you through the professional experience that I have is supervision sometime can fetch you better revenue. And then AMC, it's endless. Every year you do something, you do the AMC every year, and every year you fetch money. So, if you look at it professionally in terms of motivation for earning money as a profession, as a fees, then I would say focus, very clearly focus onto this BOQ, construction tender documents, construction working drawings, implementation of the project and AMC or AMO, here I am writing. And post occupancy evaluation is for your relearning of mistakes that you have committed. Once you do this, I can assure you that you will be a very, very strong professional landscape designer. Okay, next day, so far we have learned this. Next day, we will learn about the historical aspects of different parts, Oriental, then European. So, what you have learned today till today is the overview, the landscape design, what is definition of it, what is the categorization of this, and what are the different kind of nature or materials of this, and what is the purpose of doing landscape design, and what is the professional scope of it. Once you learn the history, then you know how to go ahead. So, next day onwards, next lecture onwards, we will cover this. Thank you for listening.